Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Picture Books. I'm Maggie Reagan, Senior Editor for Books for Youth at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so that they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Kristen Luby, Associate Director of School and Library Marketing at Abrams, Colette Perry, Marketing Design Associate at Charlesbridge, Golda Redemacher, Library Sales and Marketing Director at WW Norton and Company, and Casey Griffin, Senior Marketing Manager at Phoenix International Publications, and Sandra Sutter, the owner and publisher at Gnome Road Publishing. First, we'll hear from Kristen Luby. Kristen is the Associate Director of School and Library Marketing at Abrams. Kristen fell in love with reading at her hometown library in Middletown, New Jersey, and visits her local Bay Ridge branch of the Brooklyn Public Library as often as possible. She is proud to work with Abrams' talented creators, who include Jeff Kinney, Nathan Hale, Andrea Beatty, Duncan Tonatiu, and today's special guests, Stephanie Seals and C.G. Esperanza. Thank you so much for joining us, Kristen.
Hi, thank you, Maggie, and hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to share a sneak peek at our upcoming picture books and to introduce you to our two special guests today. But before I do that, on the next slide is a recap of our best books of the year so far, picture books of the year so far. Newbery Award winner Dave Eggers' new picture book, Soren's Seventh Song, and Felicita DeSala's If You Run Out of Words, both have 2 stars so far. The title information for these books is in the spreadsheet that Booklist is sharing with you, including digital preview copies of these books, so please do check those out. And on the next slide are some highlights of things still to come in the summer and fall, including The Mango Tree, a stunning new wordless picture book by Pura Belpré Award honoree Adel Rodriguez, inspired by his childhood immigration experience from Cuba. Bao's Doll is a remarkable debut from Bo Liu about a mother and daughter learning to embrace their Taiwanese culture and each other. The Heartbeat Drum is a picture book biography of Cree activist and musician Carol Powder. All at Once Upon a Time is a hilarious fractured fairy tale read aloud that's perfect for fans of the Stinky Cheese Man. The Idea in You is the debut picture book from Questlove, New York Times bestselling author and Grammy Award-winning drummer, and illustrated by Coretta Scott King Honor Award winner Sean Qualls. This is a story about embracing the creativity inside of you. And finally, Missing Mama, an incredibly moving story about a mother and a veteran who is affected by PTSD and the enduring love of her family on both the good days and the bad days. Author Winsome Bingham is a disabled Army veteran, a former educator, and she is also the author of The Walk, which is a great read for your Election Day collections. And she is the author of Soul Food Sunday, illustrated by C.G. Esperanza, who won a CSK honor for his work. And on that note, speaking of Charles, I am excited to introduce you to My Daddy is a Cowboy, a new picture book coming this June, and 2 very special creators. Stephanie Seals is a storyteller, dreamer, and doer who is passionate about racial equity. She's also a children's literature expert who has worked in almost every aspect of the book business for over 15 years, including as a bookseller, children's book buyer, library staffer, teacher, and a reviewer. Fun fact, she is also reviewed for Booklist. She lives in the Hudson Valley, New York. C.G. Esperanza is the award-winning illustrator of Soul Food Sunday, which received a Coretta Scott King honor, and the author-illustrator of Boogie Boogie Y'all, which received a Cora Bell Prey Youth Illustrator honor, among many other awards. He lives in the Bronx, New York. And on the next slide, I'm thrilled to share that My Daddy is a Cowboy has received its first starred review from Kirkus, who called it a magical celebration of family, freedom, and Black joy. And I couldn't agree more. Stephanie and Charles, thank you so much for being here today to share your book, My Daddy is a Cowboy. Stephanie, I thought we'd start with you. Could you tell us about the inspiration behind My Daddy is a Cowboy?
Sure. Thanks for having us, Kristen and Booklist. Excited to be here. The short answer is that the book was inspired by the Compton Cowboys, which are exactly what it sounds like. Compton Cowboys are cowboys that live in Compton, which is in Southern California. And I've been following them a couple years on social media when a friend sent me an article about them and asked if I'd ever thought about writing a story about them. And I was like, I hadn't, but I will. And I did. So it was inspired by them. And I know, and I'm not trying to take your time, Charles, but I know Charles was inspired by the Fletcher Street Cowboys, who are in Philly. So the urban cowboy sort of theme was an inspiration for both of us.
That's great. And Charles, you created such a beautiful world for Stephanie's characters. I know Stephanie tipped it a little bit in her answer, but did you base your illustrations on real places? And how did you approach illustrating the story once you saw Stephanie's text?
If you're talking right now, Charles, I believe you are muted.
We may have lost Charles, or he may be muted. Charles, if you could try unmuting, you can jump in. But I know, like Stephanie was saying, that the Black Cowboys in the book, he based a lot on Philly's Fletcher Street and many other graffiti-rich cities. You can see that a lot in the illustrations in the book. I know also, Stephanie, that you mentioned the book is all about, Panamanian American culture as well. So I think you can see that in some of Charles's illustrations. Oh, I saw Charles. Are you unmuted?
Yes, I think so. I'm so sorry about that.
Yay!
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Stephanie put it so great. Yeah, the Compton Cowboys and just the urban cowboy aesthetic and the culture. I was just so inspired by it. I watched a couple movies and actually went, to a couple of places in the city, even in the Bronx, where horse riding is loved. It's a tradition there. So that definitely, all of these cultures definitely inspired the images.
It's great. And what was it like to collaborate on this story? I know that collaboration process between author and illustrator can work so many different ways. So were you getting the text from Stephanie cold? Did you know anything about the story going into it? How did you approach it?
Yeah, so usually when I write a story, it's something that I know back and front, and I can tell the story my way. With this story, although I have been a very big fan of just city cowboy culture, I wasn't 100% familiar with how many different things went into it. So this gave me Stephanie's words gave me the opportunity to do my own investigation and open me up to a whole new world that I had never really investigated before. So we actually this is the first time I actually worked very closely with the author. She sent me so many things in regards to Panamanian culture, and anytime I had a question to ask about, things that her grandmother wore or just anything, Stephanie was there. So this is the first time I worked so closely with an author during the illustration process.
Stephanie, I was going to ask you, and your experience of the collaboration, was there anything about it that surprised you? What did you think when you got the illustrations?
There was a lot of crying in a good way because they're so amazing. It's been such an incredible experience to work with Charles. It feels a little bit weird to talk about like you're not here, Charles, but it's been an incredible experience. Like I feel like it was just ideal in every way. And I really felt like specifically getting the Panamanian culture piece in the way that was important to me. Like Charles took it really seriously, and I really, really appreciate that, especially since it's the first picture book that will feature Panamanian American characters. It was super important to me. So it was really just a dream. I'm not trying to be a hyperbolic. It really was. It's been wonderful.
So great. Do you both have any favorite spreads or images in the books? Is there anything specifically about Panamanian culture that he captured really well? I know there are a lot of scenes with the family and her abuelita and that.
So, do you want to go first, Charles?
Sure. I really had a great time uh painting the living room scene with the abuelita, and I also really just love to incorporate the Mola art in certain spreads as well. I'm, a huge fan of Mola art, and even more so now after doing this book.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite spreads too, the final spread. I think that was a sketch for a long time. And so when I finally saw the final art and the mola, which is a textile art by indigenous Panamanian people, the Kuna people, I just started weeping because it's so beautiful. So I think that one, and then the spread that's just of Abuelita sitting on her throne chair, and there's a picture in the background of her when she's young that's based on an actual photo of my grandma, and it's so touching. So those are my favorites right now. It may change later. We'll see.
That's great. I think we're almost at our time here. So just one more final question. What do you hope young readers will take away from this story? Why do you feel it's an important one for librarians to be sharing with their young readers?
I think for me, I hope that the joy will come through. I really would like to see more Black joy emphasized like in books, and that's part of why I wrote this. So I hope that that will come through for the readers, and that librarians and other gatekeepers will see the importance of books that center joy, especially for Black people, and value it in that way.
And Charles, what about you?
And I would love to just let kids know who read this book that if you're in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Philly, you can be a cowboy. You can ride horses, and that isn't something that is just in Texas or these other places. And you don't have to all the time look like somebody who identifies as a cowboy. You can wear hip hop fashion and still be a cowboy.
That's so great. Thank you both so much for being here to share your story. Thank you for creating this beautiful story. I can't wait for these librarians to share it with their communities.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Over to the list.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And thank you, Stephanie and Charles, for sharing your insights onto your really gorgeous book. Next up is Colette Perry. Colette has been working in marketing with Charlesbridge Publishing for 5 years. She grew up in Portland, Oregon, and holds a bachelor's in communications and music from Simmons University. Colette lives in the Boston area and loves poring over vintage picture book illustrations. Thank you so much for being here today, Colette.
Thank you so much, Maggie. And thank you to Stephanie and CG. What an amazing appearance. I'm so excited to share our spring and summer picture book Charlesbridge faves with you all today. Let's jump right in with I Heard, An American Journey by Jahanila Avery, illustrated by Steffi Walthall. This lyrical retelling of Black American history begins and ends with hope. Hope for the bright future that all Black kids deserve to see. When a class of students visit an artist in her studio, they are astounded by the lush paintings showing their history. From the beautiful shores of Africa, through the horrors of slavery and the Civil War, to the trailblazers who stood up for their rights and the leaders who are still making change today. Back Matter unpacks the dense web of historical references in Jaha's beautiful text and includes a note from the author. I Heard is a book that doesn't shy away from the pain or the beauty of Black American history. It is on sale April 30th. Have you ever been told you can't? If Lin Can by Richard Ho, with illustrations by Huinkang Lian and Feng Wen Kwang, celebrates a basketball superstar who never let others tell him what he couldn't do. Jeremy Lin rocketed to stardom in 2012 with the New York Knicks, kicking off a media frenzy dubbed Linsanity, but it was a long road to get there. Stereotypes about Asian Americans meant he was overlooked by coaches and recruiters despite his success on the court. But Jeremy didn't give up. He trained hard, he slept on couches, and he kept trying until an opportunity finally opened for him to play, leading the Knicks to victory after stunning victory. This isn't just a straightforward sports biography. Richard Hull highlights how Linsanity inspired a generation of Asian American kids to pursue their goals in the face of adversity. In leadership, sports, or performing arts, these kids ask the real question: if Lin can, why can't I? If Lin Can is on sale April 16th. On Friday Afternoon by Michal Babe, illustrated by Menahem Halberstadt, is a fun and freewheeling story about a girl and her dog careening through the lead up to Shabbat. Every week on Friday afternoon, Lily's house gets very busy. Mom has lots of cooking to do. Dad has to clean up and take care of the baby. Lily wants to help, and so does her dog Pickles. They start with tzedakah, collecting loose change to donate to those in need. But then they need someplace to put the tzedakah, so they empty out a flower pot. All this helping is thirsty work. Time for a glass of juice. Oops, all over the floor. Lily's gleeful chaos finds its perfect expression in an impromptu parade, complete with trumpet fanfare and roller skating as the family welcomes their guests. Will everything be ready in time for candle lighting? This warm and goofy picture book spotlights the weekly Jewish celebration of Shabbat and the fun of helping out at home, even if you don't always get it perfectly right. On Friday Afternoon is on sale April 30th. Next is Sammy's Special Gift by M.O. Yüksel with illustrations by Hussein Sonmezeh. Sammy loves Eid al-Adha, but it's not going to be the same this year after Dede's passing. How can he enjoy the carnival without his grandfather? But then a package arrives all the way from Turkey with a special gift. Wearing Dede's favorite tie fills Sammy's heart with joy. He is never going to take off this tie. The tie stays on through Eid prayer at the mosque, a buffet of delicious treats, and a visit to the butcher shop. But when they go to drop the meat off at a shelter where Baba and Anne volunteer, Sammy meets someone who will change how he sees the holiday forever. This warm story of charity, gratitude, and sharing highlights the importance of kind acts and the fun of a major Muslim holiday. Sammy's Special Gift is on sale April 16th. Next up, let's take a look at Clack Clack Smack, a Cherokee stickball story by award-winning author Tracy Sorrell and illustrator Joseph Erb. Stickball is an action-packed traditional Cherokee game. Today, it's Eagles versus Redhawks, and Van is having a hard time keeping up. He tries to be a good teammate like his friend Jesse, but he's not as fast or as good at scoring. Coach calls the team over for a water break and reminds them about Gadagi. Teamwork is important to the Cherokee people in all parts of life, stickball especially. In the end, Van finds that he doesn't have to be the best player in order to be the best teammate he can be, and there are all kinds of ways to help win a game. Back matter includes a glossary of Cherokee words and more information about stickball and the Cherokee language. Clack Clack Smack is available August 6th. Every Here Has a There by Margot Lynn with illustrations by Brian Fitzgerald is a fresh and fascinating take on the fan-favorite topic of transportation. Where does a book get started? And how does it end up in your hands? This story starts in a factory in China where boxes are trucked to the port of Hong Kong and loaded on a container ship. Each black and white spread pops with bright color to show exactly where the action is, while rhyming text invites readers to explore how opposites are intricately connected. The push and pull of tugboats, the above and below of ship decks, the east and west of ocean travel. Sidebar text walks readers through the journey of an international shipment across rough seas, through the Panama Canal and into New York Harbor, where last mile delivery brings the books to a bookstore ready for readers to find. Every Here Has a There is on sale July 9th. Kindred Spirits, Shalombish Itabachafa by Leslie Stahl-Widener, illustrated by Johnson Yazzie, weaves together 4 nations and nearly 200 years of history into one story of solidarity and hope. In 1845, the Irish potato crop fails, plunging tenant farmers into famine. Unable to pay rent, many are evicted by the English landlords who own their farms and homes, leaving them to starve. An ocean away, the Choctaw people are still recovering from the Trail of Tears, barely a decade before. But when they hear of the evictions and mass death of Irish farmers, they recognize the pain they felt when their land was stolen, their community uprooted, and their beloved relatives died on the journey to what is now Oklahoma. They donate $170, equivalent to nearly $5,000 today, a huge sum for a struggling people. And the Irish nation never forgets. Delegates visit each other, scholarships are established for Choctaw students to study in Ireland, and in 2017, a sculpture is unveiled to honor the bond between the two nations. But the story isn't over. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hits, and the Hopi and Navajo nations struggle to survive. Geographic isolation and the lack of water infrastructure makes it hard to stay home safely. Remembering the gift of the Choctaw, Irish and diaspora people donate over $3 million in turn to honor their ancestors and pay forward that act of kindness. Kindred Spirits is available July 9th. Rostam's Picture Day Pastine by Ryan Bani Tomaseb with illustrations by Fatima Moklis poses an age-old dilemma. Picture Day is here, and your parents want you to wear something you feel weird about wearing. Rostam and his maman are new to the States, and they're still waiting for Baba to come over from Iran and join them. Rostam likes his friends and classmates from soccer, but he's worried they'll make fun of him if he wears Baba's pastine for Picture Day. It's a beautiful vest, soft on the inside, embroidered with colorful flowers. It would mean a lot to his maman and Baba if he wore it. So Rostam goes in wearing it, and it's a hit. His classmates are captivated by the embroidery and the fluffy wool lining. So many of them want to try it on that they line up. And when Rostam sits down for his picture, he has the biggest smile on his face. This sweet picture book acknowledges the nerves that come with sharing part of your heritage while celebrating the joy and pride of being welcomed by your community. Rostam's Picture Day Pastine is on sale July 16th. She Sells Seashells by Heidi E.Y. Stemple is a fresh and exciting biography of Mary Anning, a trailblazer in the field of paleontology. Mary was a working-class girl in England in the 1800s who dug fossils out of the sea cliffs to sell in her family's shop. She didn't have the time or the money to go to school, but she did have a curious mind, a steady hand, and a deep well of patience. While powerful men exclaimed over her fossils and claimed her discoveries for themselves, Mary pieced together her own education, reading the few books and scientific articles she could find, copying illustrations to learn the technique, and even dissecting squid on her kitchen table to learn anatomy. 200 years later, Mary Anning is recognized as the first paleontologist. While honest about the barriers she faced in her time, this book highlights Mary's determination to succeed on her own terms and celebrates the accomplishments of everyone who is curious enough to keep digging, one discovery at a time. She Sells Seashells is on sale July 16th. Squirrel Needs a Break by Kristen Remenar with illustrations by Matt Faulkner is a deeply charming story about a single dad in need of a break and the community that pulls together to help him. Squirrel and his 3 rambunctious kids have been stuck inside all winter, and Squirrel needs a break desperately. So his woodland friends team up to plan a day of self-care. They'll take turns watching the kids and spending time doing something relaxing with Squirrel. The mirrored structure of this book amps up the comedy while underscoring the message that self-care is for everyone. Hare takes Squirrel out to the spa while Sparrow gives the kids a splashy bubble bath. Then Groundhog goes to a yoga class with Squirrel, while Owl tries and fails to teach the kids to meditate. When the day is through, Squirrel's friends have a whole new level of appreciation for all the hard work he puts into being a dad, and the little family is thrilled to reunite at a cozy celebration. Squirrel Needs a Break is on sale May 7th. And last but certainly not least, we are releasing 3 titles simultaneously in English and Spanish. La Mala Suerte Me Sigue by Ana Siqueira is a laugh-out-loud romp about good luck, bad luck, and superstitions, culminating when our grade school soccer star decides to make his own luck in time for the big game. Un Graznido en Español by Gabriela Aldeman is a sweet story about a grandma and grandson separated by a language barrier who express their love by cooking together, with a little help from Lorito, the Spanish-speaking parrot. And in Los Mariachis de Adela by Denise Vega, the littlest daughter of a mariachi family finds her place in the show. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at cperry@charlesbridge.com. Digital galleys, downloadables, bonus videos, and more are available on our website at charlesbridge.com/picturebookwebinar. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, Colette. And next up, we'll hear from Golda Rademacher. Golda is the library sales and marketing director at W.W. Norton and Company, which includes the Norton Young Readers imprint that is turning 5 this year. You can sign up for her seasonal newsletter for art giveaways and find her on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter at WW Norton Library. Golda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maggie, and hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I have a range of titles from Norton Young Readers and our client publishers to show you. A Place for Rain by Michelle Schaub has lyrical text along with charming illustrations from Blanca Gomez. What happens to all the water when it rains? This classroom plans and builds a rain garden, collecting excess water in barrels, creating paths for water flow, and planting native flowers and grasses that help the water percolate and provide food for wildlife. The book has back matter that gives more information on how to build your own rain garden. And I know a lot of libraries and schools have gardens or nature-based activities outside. A rain garden would be an interesting thing to incorporate into your landscaping. Next Level is by the same team that did Magnificent Homespun Brown, which received a Coretta Scott King honor for illustration. Samara Doyen was inspired by her relationship with her autistic son to write a picture book that celebrates people who move through the world and communicate in their own way. She wants to remind folks that everyone is allowed to take up space in the community, even if they don't speak or move in the same way as others. The book invites us to level up and see our shared humanity in limitless dimensions. I Am Gravity is by the same team that did I Am Smoke. The illustrator created ethereal illustrations that help to show the effects of gravity, and the text by Henry Hertz tells about the essential role of gravity in life as we know it, from the pulling of the ocean's tides to the vastness of the stars in the sky. Back matter about the science of gravity and major historical discoveries enhances the book for STEM learning. Betsy Bird recently interviewed Henry Hertz for her blog, and she called the book absolutely brilliant. This Is Not My Lunchbox is also coming from Tilbury House. This fun picture book has kids opening up lunchboxes only to discover them full of things like plants, snails, spiders, and stuff that other types of animals would eat. The illustrations show the biodiversity found in our forests, and the text helps even the youngest naturalists learn all about herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. A Field Guide to Spring is the first book in a new series that uses ideas from the Forest School movement. This book builds on children's natural curiosity about the world around them. It features lyrical poems, hands-on crafts and activities, scientific facts, and identifier pages to help children find different plants and animals. Whether a child's access to nature is in the form of an urban park, a private garden, a field, or a forest, there is much to discover and experience. And the second book is scheduled for fall of 2024. Carl Safina is a naturalist and the author of several best-selling books. He recently published a book for adults with Norton called Alfie and Me. In Owls in Our Yard, he has taken the story of the little owl named Alfie that he and his wife rescued and created a picture book. He writes about their relationship with Alfie, how she learned to hunt on her own, and eventually found a mate and had chicks. Booklist gave it a starred review, calling it a natural fit for Cy Montgomery fans and fledgling scientists in the field readers. Stick Figure lead singer Scott Woodruff collaborated with Adam Mansbach on this book all about his friendly rescue dog, Coco. Coco, the tour dog, tells the story of her adoption and how she came to enjoy touring with the band and became a huge favorite for the fans when she would come out on stage. But eventually Coco got bored with the touring life, so Scott decided she needed a new friend. So now Coco and her little sister Molly are enjoying life with the band together. This is a sweet and funny picture book based on real life, and if you enjoy dog pictures, I can also recommend following Coco the tour dog on Instagram. Stripes and Spots is a reissue of a classic from Dalov Ipkar. The bold artwork depicts the exuberance of youth, A little lion cub and a leopard cub meet up and go on the hunt, but when faced with danger, they realize that they do still need some help. Inside the Compost Bin takes readers from creation of the compost cake to curing and finally using the compost. Budding composters will discover what it takes to have a successful bin, as well as the benefits using compost can have to the surrounding environment. Barb Rosenstock and Catherine Roy have collaborated before on Otis and Will Discover the Deep, which was an ALA notable book, an Orbis Pictus recommended book, and received many other accolades. Their new book is Sea Without a Shore, about the Sargasso Sea. Following a single blade of the extraordinary sargassum seaweed as it grows and spreads, readers see all the amazing things that it provides for the sea's organisms. The text and the gorgeous illustrations show the interdependence of all the organisms in the sea. Barb and Catherine went to Bermuda to do their own research, and they consulted with leading oceanographers at Woods Hole. This will be a perfect addition to any of your nature, science, ocean, or environment reading lists. The Oddball Book of Armadillos comes from the creators of the Upside Down Book of Sloths. This delightful new picture book traces the history of one of Earth's strangest animals. Elizabeth Shreve explores the evolutionary history of armadillos and how they became the burrowing, swimming, roly-poly, armored predators of today. She pairs modern species like the adorable pink fairy armadillo, the screaming hairy armadillo, and the iconic nine-banded armadillo with their ancient counterparts, such as the glyptodont, which could be as large as a car, had a turtle-like dome of armor, and even a spiked tail club. The book digs deep into the evolutionary history of armadillos and their future in our changing world. One of our biggest books for fall is In Praise of Mystery by Poet Laureate Ada Limon and illustrated by Peter Cease. Ada Limon wrote this poem that will be engraved on the Europa Clipper spacecraft, which launches in October to go to Jupiter and its moons. The poem and the intricate luminous illustrations by Peter Cease celebrate humankind's endless curiosity, ask us what it means to explore beyond our known world, and shows us how the unknown can reflect us back to ourselves. Ada Limon was recently named a Time Woman of the Year, and she has been doing a lot of outreach through the Library of Congress as the Poet Laureate. Peter Cease received the Caldecott Honor for Starry Messenger and has received so many accolades for his work, and this new work is really beautiful. Courage Every Day is a picture book about the abstract concept of courage. The little girl and her father talk about courage and how it can lead to both big and small behaviors that might save the day or just make somebody feel better. Finding Rebecca is a picture book biography of America's first Black female doctor, Rebecca Lee Crumpler. The search for her story and her final resting place, more than 100 years after her death, turned up a few details that author Shawnee King uses to piece together a picture of the life she led, her hardships, and her many accomplishments. Young readers will discover more about this trailblazing first and help ensure that she is lost no longer. This is a picture book biography for your elementary school age kids rather than preschool or younger. And then this is just a reminder about our new and upcoming board books. Jarrett and Jerome Pumphrey's first two picture books, The Old Truck and The Old Boat, are out now in board book format. We also have a new series of board books by Yuval Zamer and the fun flip books from Abbeville that let you flip sections of the pages to create different creatures. And the Wimmel books are a lot of fun if you like search and find books or wordless stories. You can find our catalogs through these links on the slide, and you can sign up for the Norton Library newsletter through that link underneath my name. Thank you so much to all of you for listening and for all of the work that you do for kids and teens in your communities. And I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you so much, Golda. Next up, we have Casey Griffin. Casey is the Senior Marketing Manager at Phoenix International Publications. As the Senior Marketing Manager, her duties include developing marketing plans across imprints, creating monthly newsletters to showcase new and seasonal titles, coordinating with licensors for creative collaborations, and managing Phoenix's participation in industry events. Her favorite part of the job is the ever-changing day-to-day that presents new challenges and opportunities. Take it away, Casey.
Hello. Today I'm going to share some picture books from our Sequioa Kids Media imprint. These books are all library-bound books, and most of them are also available as ebooks, read-alongs, and audiobooks, but I'll point those out as we get to them. Next. So first up is I Am Tiger, written by Wang Zumin and illustrated by Wang Ying. Tiger is always fierce and strong, but not always nice. Will this ruin Tiger's birthday party? It's Tiger's birthday, but no one really wants to celebrate with him because he's been a little unkind to his friends and hadn't thought about how his actions would make them feel. This book is a good reminder that to have friends, you need to be a friend. This book is available as an ebook, read-along, and audiobook. Next. Lila and the Swallows is written by Chi Zi and illustrated by Cheng Yu. Every year, the swallows return to Lila's village, and every year Lila follows them on the ground, wondering what it would like to join them in the sky. This is a very, very sweet, dreamy story about Lila's friendship with the swallows and how they spend their time together in the spring, summer, and fall. This book is also available as an ebook, read-along, and audiobook. Next. Mouse and Frog is written and illustrated by Chen Zejin. Mouse and Frog are best friends, and they may be a little different, but they always find ways to make the most of their ordinary days and make them extraordinary. Mouse and Frog is also about how friends find fun in every day and adventure through the seasons together. It's illustrated in a wacky and imaginative style that little ones will definitely love. This is also available as an ebook, read-along, and audiobook. Next. The Book Snail, written by Jin Bo and illustrated by Wang Zumin. Meet the Book Snail. He's here to show a child longing for excitement that anything is possible through the power of imagination. A world of adventure awaits. You just need to know where to look. So when a child feels bogged down with homework and lessons, he becomes frustrated and wants to go on a big adventure instead, which is very relatable, I'm sure, to all of us at some point or another. That's where the Book Snail comes in. The Book Snail shares that you can have an adventure anywhere when you have a good book and your imagination. This one is also available as an ebook, read-along, and audiobook. Next. Endangered Animals World Tour, starring Rooster Flats, written by Chip Pocart and illustrated by Caitlin Ardolenu. Come on a tour with country singer Rooster Flats as he travels the world and crows about endangered, vulnerable, and threatened species on each continent. This engaging picture book increases awareness of animals and the ways our actions affect them by delivering interesting facts about their habits and habitats with a fun and fresh country music twist. This book features polar bears, manatees, leatherback sea turtles, and more. The last page even has some suggestions on how kids can get involved and help. This book is also available as an ebook, read-along, and audiobook. Next. I'm Not Scared of Monsters. This is written and illustrated by Mike Byrne. Ella is not afraid of silly old monsters. In fact, she's more curious about them and very polite. There's only one thing Ella fears, and by the end of the book, all of the monsters are very afraid of it too. But Ella knows that even if she's scared, she can always count on her dad to keep her safe. This book is available as an ebook and read along, but not an audio for this one. Next. Moose versus Goose, written and illustrated by Patrick Brooks. Moose is the best. No, Goose is the best. Moose and Goose are fierce rivals who compete at school, sports, and just about everything. They live on opposite cliffs across the sea from each other. This book is a great choice for illustrating cooperation and how working together can solve a problem and build a friendship. This book is available as an ebook and a read-along as well. Next. Musical ABC, written and illustrated by Natalie Briscoe. From an alligator with an accordion to a zebra with a zamari, or as I have illustrated here, a walrus with a wind bell, or a zine with a xylophone, because we never get good X letters. This picture book gives children an introduction to letters, animals, and instruments from around the world. You can strum and clap and tap your way through the whimsical musical animal alphabet. Next. The Chalk Garden, written and illustrated by Sally Ann Garland. The Guardian called it a lush, joyful picture book full of growth, color, and creativity. All Emma wants is for birds to come to her yard, but without a garden, they don't seem very interested. So Emma uses her imagination to draw a beautiful flower garden with chalk, and soon a tiny ecosystem develops and grows into real flowers. So the question is, what can you create with a little chalk and a big idea? This is also available as an ebook and a read-along. Next. Who Jumped into the Bed? Written by Joe Radigan and illustrated by Julia Seal. Who jumped, slithered, and stretched into the bed last night? That's what Dad wants to know in this wriggly, giggly bedtime book. Written in a catchy, sing-songy voice, children will love seeing who jumps into the bed next, and parents will appreciate the dad who, after a sleepless night, still gets up and makes everyone breakfast. It's a great bedtime story that will be enjoyed the first time kids read it and every time after. This is available as an ebook and a read-along as well. That's it for me. This is my contact info and where you can find us online and on social. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Casey. Next up, we'll hear from Sandra Sutter. Sandra is the owner/publisher at Gnome Road Publishing, aka the Top Gnome. A former attorney, counselor, and author, she has found her way to making great books with great people. She enjoys bringing together talented creatives to produce books that kids of all walks of life can find engaging, informative, and beautiful. The key concept at Gnome Road is rereadability. Sandra wears many hats at Gnome Road and currently heads their marketing and content development efforts. She's also a mom and chauffeur to 2 curious kids, a crazy cat lady, and a fan of kind people. Take it away, Sandra.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today. I'm excited to be part of Booklist Spring 2024 Picture Book Party and sharing information with you about our books at Gnome Road. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. For those of you who are not familiar with Gnome Road, we opened for submissions at the beginning of 2021 and released our first titles last year in the spring and fall of 2023. Currently, we focus only on picture books and look for material that we think has that R factor, which, as you just heard, is rereadability. We hope every child can find at least one book at Gnome Road that they treasure and want to read time and again. Our spring 2024 list is now in full swing, with the first of those titles releasing at the end of February. We can't wait to tell you about those, but first I'm going to give you a little more information about us. We'll go to the next slide. We've chosen some of the fan favorites from the 2023 list to share with you so you can become better acquainted with the range of our books and what people like about them. The first one is Animals in Surprising Shades, Poems About Earth's Colorful Creatures by Susan Johnston Taylor and illustrated by Annie Baxt. This is an engaging STEAM-themed poetry collection that feels like a field guide to fascinating and colorful creatures throughout the world, while doubling as an introduction to simple and fun poetic forms like concrete, tanka, haiku, and quatrain. This title was named to the 2024 Outstanding Trade Science Books list by the National Science Teachers Association and the Children's Book Council. It got a recommended review from School Library Journal, who said that this combination of science and poetry should delight young readers, encourage young writers, and spur interest in young scientists. We can move to the next slide. Nudie Gill, Poison Powerhouse of the Sea. This was written and illustrated by Bonnie Kelso. In this book, you meet Gill, a flashy, feisty nudibranch who educates a curious young snorkeler about the fascinating and sometimes fierce lives of these naked ocean creatures and their marine environment. This title was named by the Nevada Center for the Book as its 2023 Great Reads from Great Places children's book selection. The book and the author went to Washington, D.C. last August to represent Nevada at the National Book Fair. Booklist had to say that children will enjoy the brightly colored, digitally generated images, which have an animated feel. A bonus is the labeled descriptions of other types of marine life, which will allow adult readers to extend the learning by discussing more than the starring nudibranch. Next slide. Science Matter in the Baseball Park by Catherine Chachi and illustrated by Chantel and Bergen Thorne is for baseball and science fans alike, with fast-paced rhyming story that takes a closer look at all the matter that makes up what truly matters at the ballpark and beyond. This won a Purple Dragonfly honorable mention in the STEM category, and Booklist Online had to say that early elementary science teachers will especially appreciate this unexpected and delightful collision of sports and early STEM concepts. Next slide. How to Hatch a Reader by Carrie Ann Gonzalez and illustrated by Rachel Suzanne came out last August. It celebrates the milestones of learning to read with wit and humor and with tools to support parents of young readers. It has bright, engaging illustrations and a fun second storyline featuring the fox that you see on the cover. This title won the Northern Lights Book Award in the humor category. School Library Journal said that while the story is suited to read aloud and young children will enjoy the bright animated farmyard full of chickens, parents and guardians may find the most delight and support from the practical guidance this book offers about teaching emerging readers. Look for the sequel, How to Hatch a Writer, coming in the fall of 2025. These books will work hand in hand to help young readers turn into strong writers too. And the next slide. My Piano by Jen Fear-Jasinski and illustrated by Anita Bagdi. This was definitely a true fan favorite last year. A lot of people love this book. It got a starred review in the School Library Journal, who said, together, Jasinski and Bagdi have created a recital from start to finish that will leave readers wanting an encore. And in fact, we will have that coming spring of 2026. My Violin will help with music teachers who want to have these on hand for budding musicians. All right, so we'll move to the next slide. Just want to mention two others from last fall before we move on, or from last year. We found out recently that Tango Red Riding Hood is one of 6 finalists for the Anna Dewdney Read It Together Award by the Children's Book Council, Penguin Young Readers, and Every Child a Reader. If you like Tango Red Riding Hood, go vote for that one. And also Finley, A Moose on the Caboose from last spring as a finalist for Forward Magazine's Indies Award Picture Book of the Year. And we have Finley 2 coming in the spring of 2026. So talking about spring of 2024, we've already had Sea Smiles come out. The Imposter came out. Nancy Bess had a dress released today, and then we have From the Farm to Our Table, and I'll talk about each of those. All right, next slide. Sea Smiles. This is written and illustrated by Bonnie Kelso. You just saw her work in Nudie Gill, Poison Powerhouse of the Sea. This story is sure to be a hit with any kid who has lost a tooth, is about to, or just loves learning cool and fascinating facts about animals with weird teeth in the sea. Take a look inside the mouth of a wolffish, penguin, sea crate, and more, then count up those teeth and prepare to be surprised. One of these smiley sea animals has over 750,000 teeth, and it won't be the one you're expecting. Bonnie uses her signature blasts of color and texture to showcase an adorable cast of characters who make the business of losing teeth entertaining and yet a normal part of life. It's a perfect addition to any library, home, or dental office waiting room. This is also the first in a 3-part informational fiction series that showcase childhood milestones of losing a tooth, establishing sleep routines, and independent bathing. We just had a review come out today from the Children's Book Review, and you can look for Sleepy Sea in spring of 2025 and Sea Suds in the spring of 2026 to follow up on this book. All right, our next slide. The Imposter. This is written by debut author Laura Bauer and illustrated by Carissa Green, who also has an author illustrated book coming out this spring. It released on March 5th and it's for ages 3 to 7. Olive loves her Mr. Snuggles more than anything else in the world. He's cuddly, reliable, perfect, and unfortunately lost. When Mr. Snuggles mysteriously reappears, Olive couldn't be more excited. They're back on track to being best friends forever. Except something doesn't feel quite right. Mr. Snuggles is a little too clean and a little too fluffy. He's an imposter. And when Olive finds the shiny new box, the proof is undeniable. Now Olive must make room for more than one Mr. Snuggles in her heart or find a way to rid the imposter from her life for good. There's actually a review coming out from School Library Journal I can't quote yet, but look for that next month. This has really been the true fan favorite this spring. Influencers like Kidlit Mama and Jamie Bills on Instagram are showcasing this title. They love it so much. It seems like it's very relatable in households everywhere. Next slide. Nancy Best Had a Dress by award-winning author Clara Nolan and award-winning illustrator Angela C. Hawkins, released today. It's for ages 4 to 9. When the family flour sack is emptied, Nancy Best remakes it into a dress, but little girls grow as little girls do, and soon that dress is too small. Bit by bit, Nancy Best fashions the material into new creations until finally all that is left of the flour sack are a few tattered pieces. Peering into the family scrap basket, Nancy Best comes up with a plan to use the material once more, sewing something special to last for generations. This was featured in the Forward magazine's March-April issue, and Angela's artwork was actually spotlighted in their children's feature. It was shared on Booklist Spring 2024 Notable New Titles list, and Claire, the author, is planning to be at the IBPA booth for signings coming up this summer. All right, next slide. From the Farm to Our Table is written by Sarah Rowe and illustrated by Amanda Morrow. It's for ages 3 to 7 and it arrives on April 2nd. Based on the author's homesteading adventures, this book is sure to be a hit with nature-loving and curious kids who are keen to learn about basic sustainable living practices. Readers follow siblings Finley and Leo on a journey to collect colorful eggs, check on the pigs in the silvopasture, and, sorry, we have a phone call. Didn't mean to have that. And find the tallest grasses where the cows wait to be milked. At home, the twins carefully collect vegetables from the garden. Mama's 2 helpers are ready to enjoy the rewards of their hard work and a hearty shepherd's pie. Early reviewers love that this is designed for children who don't know much about where food comes from and helps start discussions about food production and responsible animal caretaking. Also shared in Booklist Spring 2024 Notable New Titles list. Next slide. And this is just a sneak peek of what's to come in the fall. We have Alpacas Make Terrible Librarians by debut author Christy Mahoney and award-winning illustrators Chantelenberg and Thorne. Prepare for laughs and learning in this humorous exploration of what might happen when an alpaca fills in for a librarian. This book is hilarious. The Sorry Seeds is by the Little Leaders podcast creator Tino Shepardson and debut illustrator Bong Hoon Shin. It is a beautiful book and an uplifting story that explores the feelings that come with making mistakes, owning them, and learning how to ask others for forgiveness. Emily Snook, the world's smallest cook, by author of The Imposter, Laura Bauer, and debut illustrator Reka Salim. Emily Snook is a whiz in the kitchen, but when she enters an international cooking contest and meets the competition, her hopes of winning deflate like a botched souffle. And in Trunk Goes Thunk, A Woodland Tale of Opposites by Heather C. Morris and the Dynamo illustration team of Chantelenberg and Thorne, we have a lyrical nonfiction story that uses word opposites to introduce young readers to the natural recycling of fallen timber into log bridges. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Since you all have access to these, you can find our featured titles and the ISBN numbers, hardcover as well as ebooks here on this slide. And on the last one is just a thank you and where you can find us. our website, Instagram, X accounts. We're also on TikTok as well as YouTube, where we have most of our cover reveals and book trailers. You can place orders with Baker & Taylor Publisher Services, our distributor. And if you need free downloadable resources, we have them on our website or with teachingbooks.net. Thank you all for listening. We really enjoyed being here.
Thank you so much, Sandra, and a huge thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit www.booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, like those you see here. Staff training, in-services, local conference, Booklist can help. You can now request free copies of Booklist and Booklist Reader for upcoming staff training programs, so you can help the next generation of library workers become Reader's Advisory and collection development superstars. Scan the QR code on the screen, visit our website, or email info@booklistonline.com for more details. Heading to PLA in Columbus? Then stop by the Booklist booth, number 1317. We'll have free copies of our magazine, including the guide to graphic novels, book giveaways, tote bags, buttons, and a reader recommendation wheel. Plus, don't forget to attend our book buzz on Thursday, April 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, featuring your favorite adult publishers buzzing about upcoming hits. See you there. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Abrams Books, Charlesbridge, Norton, Phoenix International Publications, and Gnome Road Publishing. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.